Razorback Nation, welcome into episode 38 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to Arkansas podcast for an in-depth dive into all things Arkansas sports. We're brought to you by Homefield. You can go check out their apparel at homefield.com. Baseball season is here. You can go get one of these fantastic Diamond Hog tees here. You can use promo code Variety Sports and all caps. Receive 15% off that first order. And, we're going to talk a little bit of Arkansas basketball. We're going to have Hype Man Cory on, as I mentioned earlier. And then we're going to round off the show by talking about Arkansas baseball opening weekend. That's going to be here tomorrow with a little bit of schedule changes, but nothing that's going to be too bad. And we'll get you update on all that and what to expect opening weekend. And, guys, we'll just start off by Arkansas basketball gets a big, much-needed win last night, kind of the revenge game against LSU, as we lost them early in the season down in Baton Rouge. Game that was just terrible, gross, ugly, all the above. Arkansas gets the win last night, 70-58, and sloppy first half of the game. Arkansas comes out in the second half, and they get it done. And, this is kind of led by two back-to-back fantastic and amazing games by one Big Z. He's definitely stepped up his play since the Kentucky game. He amped it up there and has continued to roll since. And I think this spark that he's, given Arkansas these last, 4 games has been fantastic. And it seems like he is continuing to get better and better each game. He's working on, his post play on top of, being able to knock down the 3-ball like we know he can. So, guys, your initial thoughts on last night's game and Big Z's play that he stepped up in these past 4 games.
Yeah, so how I've kind of said it, you've kind of said it, a lot of people kind of said it, that, we kind of expect Carter Knox and Billy Richmond and Big Z to come back next year. If Big Z keeps playing like this, he ain't coming back next year. There ain't no way that man's coming back next year. He has played lights out. I mean, he's had back-to-back games. Again, one game against the number 3 team in the country as well, with 25 points or more, with at least 3 blocks, and he's doing numbers on the boards too. Last night, not as much, but there's not much you can ask, more that you can ask from him, because even last night you saw like the pick and roll game get going. The dude looked like a dominant big for the first time, for Arkansas for the first time this season. Arkansas's had a dominant big. So, and it's kind of crazy to see that switch just kind of, go off with him. And now I feel like he's got the green light. No matter whenever he has the ball, he's going to shoot it.
Yeah, I said it before, in the non-conference play, he was our best shooter. And then we got to SEC play, and he really wasn't getting a lot of playing time. And a lot of that was because he would turn the ball over sometimes. And I think a lot of that was because they were throwing low passes to him a lot. When he's 7'3", you need to throw the ball high to him. A lot of that wasn't really on him. But you could tell in the non-conference play that he had the ability to just go off in a given moment because of how he shoots the ball. But, yeah, I mean, he keeps playing like this. You're right, Austin. He will not be back yet next year. He's definitely climbing up on the draft board for sure right now. But, yeah, if he plays like that, we're going to be hard to beat on a lot of nights if he continues to play like that. I mean, we almost beat Alabama with that performance. So, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm afraid of. I want him to continue to play better, but, man, it would be really nice if you got one more year of Big Z. He's kind of showed he flipped that switch now. But if he could come back and, just – maybe beef up a little bit more and, play like that for an entire season. That would be fantastic. And, I mean, it's like some of the, our comments here say, like Trent's playing Texan, Big Z for 3, and now the 2 as well. Big Z proven himself to be an offensive asset scoring from outside the arc and inside the paint is trouble for defenses, because what do you put up against this guy? If you put a big man on him, he has the quickness to beat him. If you put a guard on him that can kind of guard him while he's out on the perimeter, he's got the mismatched size advantage on him. So he's kind of it's like people have said, he's a unicorn, if you will, in that aspect of the two different, styles of game that he can play. I saw a clip earlier before the show where they were talking about, they sat down with him after the show and they were asking him, well, tell us about, your defensive efforts. And his answer was, I'm 7'2", and I mean, that's to be expected. But pretty much that is his defensive effort. He's 7'2", so who's going to go up and try to shoot a shot, against him on the outside? Down low, he gets in trouble sometimes, but at the end of the day, he's like Angel says here, Big Z is the first player in Razorback men's basketball history to block 40 shots and make 33s in a season. He has 44 blocks and 37 threes at the moment.
Yeah, and you see how many games are left? Insane. Dude, I don't – now, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, right? But I feel like the only thing that's missing out of his game to being a Victor Wembanyama is the handles. And that, I mean, I know it's a little bit hyperbolic, all right? So don't come at me. But honestly, that's all he would, if he had some handles, he could be like a Wemby light. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he'd go first in the draft or anything like that. But the dude he's everything that we thought he would be and more. And he's kind of growing in front of our eyes too. Being able to be strong with rebounds, be strong in the post, and kind of get that dog in him. I think it was the last time we had a not live audience podcast that I said I wanted him to do boxing in off season, because I wanted him to just start punching something, start to get that angry part of him out. And I think that's coming out. And the confidence that he has, whether it's driving to the basket or shooting from 3-point range, he's got it. And it couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah, and he, I think he was hurt earlier in the year too, which hurt his production there. But now that he's healthy, that pick and roll game where he can pop up top is deadly. He's 7'3". You saw he shot the ball over somebody the other night. I mean, we got to have him take as many 3-point shots as possible because he's like the only consistent shooter on the team. He has been all year long, and we've got to keep this train rolling because he's capable of doing this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, this is the best time for him to kind of, if you will, find his groove, because, we've got some key games down the stretch here where you're going to need him to play big. And, with some of these other guys at times struggling, I mean, he's probably still under the weather a little bit, but you saw not as great play from, Adu Thiero last night. He was not feeling great, earlier. And then, is that something that maybe has continued to, stick with him a little bit? Because if you look at his stat line last night, he only played 11 minutes, scored 6 points, 2 of 8 from shooting, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. So not the Adu Thiero you're used to seeing. So it's good that you have Big Z stepping up, but it's one of those things where, what is this team going to look like when you have this Big Z playing out of his mind? You have the Adu Thiero, what you're used to, not to mention, this increased play from Nelly Davis you're getting. It seems like this team is getting right at the right time. And that's what they've said about Cal teams is, they're not always the best, December, January, but when February rolls around, he has his teams ready to go and kind of really finding themselves.
Yeah, and the thing is, I kind of made the point with Boogie earlier in the season that if you're not going to have that type of outstanding scoring performance that you usually do, you got to do all the other stuff. You got to do all the stuff that doesn't really show up on the stat sheet. And, I mean, he did. He played really good defense. He got 7 boards, second, I think second leading in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So no one on LSU even got more than 6. So the dude, he's still in there and playing as a team player. But the ability to know who has the hot hand in any certain game is also a huge quality for a good team. Because the thing is, whenever you have a team like this, you have guys who can pop off any night. You can have Nelly pop off. You can have Thero. You can have like Knox or DJ Wagner pop off, as well as Avicii's. And knowing when to play that supporting role versus the main show is important, because not every night, especially with this group of people, you're not going to be the main show every night. I wouldn't be surprised if Big Z had a 10-point performance with 3 or 4 rebounds, and then Nelly had a 20-point performance next on Saturday, stuff like that. But that's going to keep opposing defenses on their toes. It's going to keep opposing coaches wondering what Arkansas is going to do. And I think overall it's going to be better. Now, as long as they can switch between those players throughout the season, that's going to tell whether or not Arkansas is going to do well or they're not. So I think it's a good thing overall, but we'll see if they can continue to do that through the rest of the season.
Yeah, based on my Twitter feed, almost everybody in Arkansas had the flu this past week. So I mean, he could have got down with the sickness. So, but I mean, I appreciate the performance that he had against Alabama. Still under the weather, and we got the win. And hopefully he's fully recovered next game.
Yeah, and another guy, I mean, that you see continuing to progress as we go along in the season. You had one Billy Richmond play 22 minutes last night, scored only 4 points, but he still brings that impact or that energy when he gets inserted in the game. If you watch part of the post game last night where Chin Coleman did the presser instead of Cal because Cal wasn't feeling too great, that was what was said. Anyway, he said that Billy Richmond changed that game when he came in. What's up, Pigpen? Glad to see you jumping in here. But he's a guy that is a big game changer, still needs a lot more development, but you can tell he's gotten better from start of season till now. He's a guy that I can't wait to see what he looks like next year. But he's a guy that's continued to improve. And, we talked about, a month ago where he was playing maybe 10, 11 minutes, and now he's up to 22. And then, you look at him, and then Jonas Adu, we've talked about, hey, can you just give us something? Hey, he didn't have a terrible outing last night. He only played 11 minutes, but he gave you 2 points. He gave you some great defensive efforts. He even pulled you down 5 rebounds last night, along with a block. So, I mean, at least he's coming in and giving you something. I mean, sure, you'd love maybe close to a little bit, double-digit points from him, but, to see him come in and not have a negative effect on the game or struggle defensively, I think that was a good sign for Arkansas. Not saying that we can kind of expect that going forward, but it was a nice glimpse to see Adu when he was coming in to give Big Z a break, that he was able to contribute and not kind of just be out there.
Yeah, and another person who didn't get a whole lot of he got a little bit of playing time. Brazil, he got 14, so about 3 minutes more. But he was 1 for 1, 1 for 2 from the free throw line and 4 rebounds. So these guys, they talked about it in the broadcast too. Cal kind of called them out during shoot around and, put it on them, said, you know what? Everybody wants you to do well. Everybody wants you to play more, but that's up to you to go out and do it. And I think they're getting a little bit more confidence on the defensive end, and I feel like that kind of helps them a little bit on the offensive end. Adu only had 2 shots, but the 2 The first one he took was really, really nice. The other one, I feel like if he would have just driven to the basket, he probably would have made that shot. I feel like he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. And that kind of comes with the confidence too. But being able to do that on defense and be confident on defense is going to help him on the offensive end too. But Billy Richmond, you guys talked about it. Billy is that energy guy. He might not go out and get you 10 points, but he's going to go out there and he's going to give it 110%. Every time he gets the ball, he might make mistakes, but he's going to do it again 110%. He's going to do it 1,000 miles per hour. And like the ability to go coast to coast and slam it on people, other than like Thero, I don't think there's anyone else on the team that really does that. So that's a really cool thing to do, and that's how you get the crowd into it. The crowd wasn't great last night. Let's just go ahead and say it. It was bad, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, the bad weather. Oh, it's a Wednesday night." 2 years ago, I went on a Wednesday night at 8:00 with bad weather against LSU, and Arkansas was in pink uniforms, and that place was packed, and it was loud. So I don't want to hear that. Like, there is something else going on. People are just, disheartened by stuff. And, it's your prerogative, right? But still, you can't. It just makes me mad whenever it's not.
Didn't the students start leaving the game 10 minutes left to go against Alabama?
I heard that. I
students, but like there was some crowd. Like I was at the Alabama game. It was about like at the 8-minute mark, give or take. You saw people start leaving. It was when Alabama had that big lead, and I said, right there towards the end of the game, I'm like, I bet those people that left early kind of regret leaving, especially when we brought it back within 3 or 4 points, and had the potential to win there. So yeah, I mean, it seems like these fans seem to we get down and they're just like, all right, time to go. This team's probably going to lose. But, that's one thing that I really enjoyed seeing is the fight that team had, especially against Alabama was, we were down 20. If this was this team at the beginning of conference play, right before conference play started, they probably would have, lost by potentially 25-30. But this team has turned it around and they had the will to fight back and get back into that game.
The thing is, they're probably only like 60 seconds away from winning it. Right. Mm-hmm. So if Arkansas would have had 60 more seconds on the clock, they wouldn't have had to start fouling so early. And they could have kept playing the defense that just all of a sudden flipped on for them. And, maybe put it away or at least put it into overtime. So they were extremely close. And I know close only counts and horseshoes and hand grenades and all that stuff. But with how the team started this year versus how they're going, it's a good sign, right? And how they could go and not play their best game of basketball in the first half against LSU and then come out and smoke them in the second half. That's a good sign. So going into College Station on Saturday, I know they're a top 10 team, or at least they were the last time I looked at them. I feel pretty good about it. I don't, it's always hard to go in there and play Buzz Williams' team, and he's always got a great defense, and it's kind of one of the slowest paces in college basketball. But I feel like Arkansas could match their defensive intensity and maybe outscore them. So we'll have to see. But I feel much better than I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of them 60 to 50 something games, low scoring. Texas A&M doesn't scare you, but they always play good defense. But you win a game like that, it's going to really help your resume to get into the tournament. But yeah, I mean, the team has done a lot better towards the second half of the season. It just shows that Cal can still coach, regardless of what Kentucky fans were saying. But they're not saying much nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing to to think too. He's getting more and more out of these guys. It's like Transplant Texans says here, Billy Richmond's getting more comfortable on both ends of the court, and his energy ignites the crowd and the team. And that's because, like Angel said, he plays full throttle. He is instantly on the court, and it's 100 miles an hour. It's like Transplant Texan said that, Chin Coleman last night was talking about. He plays in fifth gear, and they're having to help him learn how to play in those slower gears. That way, you don't have him coming down and, just banging a ball off the rim or the backboard, or, misfiring on some, lobs or some shots or like that. And then in terms of the crowd, like Transplant Texan says, attendance versus crowd energy is two different issues. Loud crowds can be quiet, but small crowds can be loud. There's bigger issues than just the attendance. And I think that's something that maybe it is, comes from the marketing team and the promotions team from the university, as far as not getting people to get out there and, come to these games. It's like we talked about before. When Eric Musselman was here, he marketed himself. He was the guy that he was always posting on Twitter, making posts, videos, whatever it be, even though you saw the corny pregame, videos that he would do before the games. And, that got people excited, got people coming in. But now you don't have that. Cal's not going to be that guy that's going to go on Twitter and make a post or make a video and be like, hey, get out there and come to the game. And so that's a struggle there. And this is another thing that, I'm not the biggest fan of. Student section is a Burger King commercial. I want to see fat heads of our players, not chicken fries. Embrace the hog, not the Whopper. Come on.
That's great. But yeah, that's actually where my point was going, Transplant Texan. That Billy Richmond, the ability to go down, go coast to coast and then slam it down like that, can bring that energy out in a smaller crowd. And the problem with the attendance versus crowd energy thing is that if you have a large attendance, that floor is usually a lot lower or a lot higher. In terms of crowd energy, you have 10,000 people in there versus 20,000 people in there. Even though 20,000 people being quiet is kind of eerie, 10,000 people being quiet is a lot less so. A lot more quiet. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, and it's hard to get 20,000 people that quiet. Versus 10,000 people that quiet. So it's kind of here and there, but the ability to make that crowd, the one that isn't very good, be incredibly energetic and loud. That's what Billy does. And I like the fact that Arkansas has somebody on the team that can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Like this idea here from Angel. He said, we need a hog nugget hat. For the student section. I also saw somebody talk about, how they have the big like sign or thing that is Bobby Portis, where he has all the long arms and big things. Let's get one of those made of Big Z. He's big enough to, get one of those up there in the student section. I think I saw something about it against one of these later home games, but they're talking about bringing Arkansas back. That would be great and all if the student section gets rowdy. That's what we need. You have some individuals in the student section that get there, a lot of those front row people get hyped and get excited and things like that, but not everybody is. And so hopefully, they'll get that figured out. And, I don't know if it's something that will be done this season, but like Transplant Texan says, there's got to be more than 3 to 4 hog calls per game without starting with a howl, especially without starting with a howl. But I mean, I don't know. It's like you said, at this point, we're this far into the season, you're just gonna have to ride it out with what's gonna happen the rest of the season. You got a few more home games, some bigger ones. I expect a big crowd for probably the Texas game. Everybody's gonna want to come see the Texas game. You probably will have a decent crowd for Missouri. The other two games, you've got Mississippi State at home, depending on where Arkansas is sitting for that game. As far as win, losses, things like that, maybe you'll have people get out there because it's the last home game before SEC tournament. But who knows?
So what happened to the student section booing a player? Hasn't really been a thing this year, has it? They kind of did it a little bit.
They've done it a little bit, but used to. I remember last year there was a Twitter account that would tweet out who to boo before the game. They would select a player and they'd tweet, "Boo this guy," and then anytime he touched the ball, that's what you had. Like, to your point, we haven't seen much of that this year.
Did that kid graduate or something? Like, what the heck? Share that account with somebody, dude.
Yeah,
let's get that going again.
Transplant Texan says more cowbell or hog calls. He says so. Would love to see that. And we'll probably bounce back over to basketball here. But you want to talk about bringing the hype, bringing energy. We're bringing back the Hog Talk segments. We're fantastic to be joined on this Hog Talk segment by, most of you probably know him as Hype Man Cory Tomlinson, that does the Hype Man for Arkansas Gymnastics and was on site for the Alabama game, taking filling in there. We're going to welcome to the show Cory Tomlinson.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
How's it going? You got your first taste of the basketball game the other night. How was that for you?
It was incredible and an amazing opportunity for me to get asked to be a part of that. Over the last 6 seasons that I've been around the University of Arkansas, I've been watching some amazing ebbs and flows in the basketball team and across sports all around campus. And I think when I got the phone call that they wanted me to be a part of that particular game, it was simultaneous nerves on my own performance of, the ESPN stakes, the ranked Alabama, the coming off of at the time we were still not having the greatest record, and we hadn't started our winning streak with men's basketball just yet. And it was amazing getting to walk into Bud Walton Arena, knowing that we were coming off of a winning streak and that we were just going to be able to grab some energy at the top of the show and see how long we could take it. And safe to say, towards the end there with, that 3-point spread, it was very exciting to get to ride the wave alongside of all of the fans and start a wave in the middle of the game as well.
Yeah. That was probably one of the biggest crowds of the season for Arkansas basketball. And so let's rewind it and take it back a little bit. So, let the people know what's a little bit about you, your background, before being the hype man here at Arkansas.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This hype man role has really taken a shape of its own. All of a sudden it's on the back of my jersey and it's what everyone knows me as. But truth is back in 2010, I started my undergrad degree at UCLA and I was a team manager for the women's gymnastics team at UCLA. And I didn't want to just be a team manager that moved mats and handed out leotards and organized rides and did all the roles of a team manager. I wanted to figure out how I could have value as a male on a women's sports team. And what I did is I just decided after I moved boards and moved mats on the gymnastics floor at a meet, I also decided to bring some energy to the crowd and get people on their feet and create some energy. So the head coach at the time gave me ultimate permission to make that happen as long as I got my job done. And I kept getting the job done and I kept bringing energy. And then UCLA hosted the national championship in 2013. And all of a sudden I was doing a flash mob on top of the vault at the end of the event. So this idea of me bringing energy into stadiums was kind of born in my undergrad days. And then how it got to what it is today, head coach Jordan Weber, now at the University of Arkansas for the gymnastics program, was actually a team manager for a few of her years at UCLA before she stepped into a coaching role. And we overlapped 1 year. And in that 1 year, we became the best of friends. And my claim to fame is I did teach Jordan Weber everything she knows about being a team manager for a gymnastics team. So she might have a gold medal, but I get to say that I taught her everything she knows about being a team manager. But no, I play with her on that all the time because she's an absolutely incredible individual. And she's still one of my very best friends. When she got the job at Arkansas, she asked and basically asked me to figure out what sort of role I could have coming over to help her build the program that she's been able to build. And I got to step in year one alongside of the incredible staff at the University of Arkansas at the time, event management, marketing, all the SID, everyone, support staff surrounding the Arkansas gymnastics program. And we did some fun stuff to create some great buzz around a program. And one of those things was slap a jersey on my back and lead the student section and some innovative new traditions that we were creating, one tradition at a time. And now it is what you see today, having grown so much over the years, and we're super grateful for all of the steps that it's taken to get here. But it is pretty chilling to see how this random guy who started as a team manager at UCLA is now getting asked by the athletic director to participate in a game against number 3 Alabama in Bud Walton Arena to hype up the crowd for a men's basketball game. It's been quite the journey.
Yeah, man. And, Arkansas Gymnastics, beat number 2 LSU and then number 3 Florida, right? I didn't get those. Did I get them backwards?
I can't really keep track of the rankings. Rankings are so weird and ambiguous in gymnastics, but yes, really high ranked teams. Two in a row.
Right. 2 in a row. So obviously what you're doing to give the Gymbacks a home gym advantage. I don't know what the lingo is.
Advantage.
Okay. So what you're doing to give them that advantage is obviously working. And so if I were to want to become a hype man, right? So what would I have to do? Like, give me some technicals, give me some just like intangible things that you got to have to be that type of hype man for, say, a D1 university.
I would start by saying you have to really hydrate before your performance and really get some carbs in your system, because the amount of times that I have nearly passed out on the gymnastics floor because I didn't have enough in my system after I'm going hard in that 4th rotation is nuts. But no, I play with you on that. But, for me, it's a connection between the student athletes and yourself to gain permission to be a part of their student athlete experience, right? Something that I was very intentional about, and I am very intentional about all 6 seasons I've been with the Gymbacks, is stepping foot into the gymnastics practice gym ahead of the season. And I learn their floor routines and start to feel those things out. I watch some of the things that what does an athlete like as they're approaching an event? Do they like a more calmer environment? Do they like something a little bit more high energy and a little bit more intense? I even get to listen inside of the practice gym in the Bev Lewis Center on campus, what sort of music is playing when they're doing a balance beam routine. And I can coach the DJ up in a competition that hey, this athlete needs something a little bit more calm and subdued when they're on balance beam, but this athlete wants nothing close to that. Bump it up and let's make it happen. And I can kind of orchestrate those things. So that's my number one piece of advice. And I do now get to train up other hype guys and hype women at other universities across the country, is start with getting to know the student athletes that you're going to go out there and get the entire stadium to cheer for and to get energy and pouring that energy out. Once you understand them and get to know them, your job is so much easier because you're just going off your gut reactions to knowing exactly what Frankie Price wants before she goes to floor. What does Jocelyn Robertson want right before she goes on the balance beam? And I can tell you all of those things about every single student athlete on every single event, because that's going to make the environment be the home floor advantage that we want in a way, a home arena, and make it really hard for the away teams to come to Bud Walton Arena and compete against us.
Yeah. That is really cool. Let's get a flash mob at Bud Walton going. But so for you getting ready for a meet, what kind of prep goes into the week of, the day before going into a meet, and kind of how did you have to kind of adjust that routine to doing the basketball game, especially back-to-back nights right after a gym meet?
Yeah, it's a great question. First, I've never done a back-to-back ever. So I have posted on my social media, especially this year, I wear a Whoop band on my wrist during the meets. And some people have always asked me how much do you output in these meets? And so Meet number 1, I put out 1,800 calories. Meet 2 against LSU, I put out 2,300 calories. And then I threw down another 1,900 against Florida. So I really felt like a slacker in that third meet, you know. But no, the preparation actually starts in a collaborative environment with the marketing staff at the University of Arkansas, where we build the show. We actually don't refer to it as building out the meet show. We literally call this a show, right? It's a spectacle. And it's not just a show because there's lights and smoke and all this other stuff. It's a show because we really believe that the 10,000 people coming to Bud Walton Arena regularly are coming to see something that they're incredibly fascinated by, because none of us on this podcast right now can do pretty much anything that an Arkansas gymnast can do, right?
Not at all.
Even the full turn that they do on the balance beam, like I would commonly refer to it when I'm talking to groups of, you know, young athletes or adults or whatever it may be. The full turn on balance beam is like stepping up to the free throw line in basketball. Like it takes on this pressure that you're feeling, and it's like, am I going to make it? I know I've made this shot a million times, but like, I have to pull up tight through my core, through my head, make sure that I turn around, make sure my heel stays up. Like, there's so many different things that go into that, and all the technical pieces of it. It's wild. But with that, the show that we're creating is creating a home floor advantage, and I work with the marketing staff to do so. So once the show is built, I meet with them, make sure that we're all on the same page from all show elements. We meet with RSN from a video board standpoint. We meet with event management from anything we need to run throughout the entire arena. We meet with the lighting and audio teams to make sure that anything specific that we need to adjust in the introductions or anything of that nature, everyone's on the same page. And I'll say that's one of my favorite parts about working with the University of Arkansas staff and support staff, is everyone is so on board with the collaborative efforts to creating the best show in the country. And I can say, I've been around to many, many gymnastics meets. What you witness in Bud Walton Arena is unmatched. It is next level. Some people might have flames. They might have a bigger platform that they stand on in the beginning. But the true essence of what you feel inside of that arena, matched with the tradition of Arkansas athletics, there's nothing like it around the country. And we know that, and we feel the weight of ensuring that the gratitude that we have for every fan that walks into the arena, that's what we feel going into a weekend like that, is making sure that we're putting on a show that's worthy of every ticket purchased, the time that people are taking to come to Arkansas Gymnastics. And none of that's lost on us. So that's what it's like the week ahead of time. And then let me tell you, when I had the back-to-back with basketball, I looked at the gymnastics athletic trainer and I said, I have to jump into a cold tub the moment that the gymnastics meet ends. And so literally the meet ended. We announced the scores. I said goodbye to a couple of people. And then the student trainer walked me over to the basketball facility, and I hopped into the cold tank for 15 minutes, got some stuff, like made that recovery happen, did Normatech, got some food in my system, went to bed because I knew the next day I was going to need to turn around and make it happen again. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
go ahead, Austin.
I just got one question. So I guess back when COVID was still happening, I watched I forgot what Hogs Plus calls it, but I think it was kind of introducing you to the fan base through Hogs Plus, as back when COVID was still here. And you flew into Northwest Arkansas, and I see skyscrapers behind you, and I know that's not in Arkansas, at least not Northwest Arkansas. So where do you live, and do you get flown in for every meet or game or whatever you do?
It's a great question. I promise I didn't put the skyscraper behind me on purpose. No, I actually live in Seattle, Washington, currently. Over the last 6 seasons, I've lived all over the place. Home base for a while was Southern California. I moved to New York City for a year in 2022. And I've had different projects take me to different places around the country. But yeah, the university flies me in and out for all of the home meets. And if there's 2 back-to-back home meets, like we had that first week of the season, I'll stay the whole week. And so try to be a little bit conscious of that, but also conscious on my body that I don't need to be like flying back and forth the whole time. But yeah, I get flown in. I do not live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, although there are many times that I've contemplated getting a condo there.
Yeah, that's really cool. So one thing that, is a question that I didn't think about until, it was put in here. Have you felt the difference this year in Bud Walton compared to other years when the meets have been in Barnhill, and this year is the first full season every meet is in Bud Walton?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. It's making me reflect a little bit because, over the last 2 years, we have had 1 or 2 meets in Bud Walton Arena. And, it had been a goal of head coach Jordan Weber's for a while to move meets from Barnhill over to Bud. And it wasn't really anything about Bud or about Barnhill. We love Barnhill. It's an amazing, close-knit environment. What we get to do with the student section in Barnhill Arena was so amazing, and how close it was in proximity to the floor exercise. But at some point when you start selling out that arena multiple times, you want to be able to give access to as many fans as possible. And that's what started guiding the path of moving into Bud Walton. Now, in terms of other SEC programs around the country, something we're really proud of, but it's also a goal we're striving after, is Bud Walton Arena is actually the largest capacity arena that any school in the entire country is competing gymnastics in. So there are other schools like the University of Utah competing in front of 15,000, I believe their capacity is, and the only one that goes a little bit above it is Rupp Arena, but Kentucky does not compete in there at all of their events. They compete in Memorial Coliseum, and they compete 1 event in Rupp. So now that our home base is Bud Walton Arena, it's a big goal of ours to see how many people we can actually push and make those NCAA gymnastics records break in terms of attendance. Now, in terms of have I felt a difference? I have. What I can do from a show element standpoint, when I have fans sitting on all 4 sides of the floor, instead of like at Barnhill, we only had 3 sides, I can do my crowd wave very differently. We can do an HOGS in all the corners. We can really play with some elements in that way. And when I can have the ability to play with noise, with excitement, with energy, the girls feel that. The student athletes truly, truly, truly feel all of that. And I'll say we were a little nervous going into that Monday meet on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We were nervous about attendance because some people had it off work, some people didn't, and we just didn't know how many were going to show up. And I remember standing there about halfway through the first rotation, and I stood next to head coach Jordan Weber, and I was like, this feels good. This feels really good. And, it wasn't the highest attendance we've ever had, but it was higher than the capacity of Barnhill. And we were grateful that people got to show up and make it happen. So I'm feeling really, really amazing about what we get to do in Bud Walton. And there's also some other like nerdy tech stuff I can get into about the capacity of what we get to do in Bud Walton versus in Barnhill, but I'll spare you the details on that.
Do you have something there, Austin?
No, man. I think I got all my questions answered, but yeah, dude, I'm pumped, and hopefully you can continue to do that with basketball too. Maybe get a little bit of fresh blood, going there. And heck, dude, maybe you can turn football around too. Hey, that'd be preferred if you could do that. That would be nice. But yeah, I think it's a cool because the NBA kind of has like an MC kind of going on at the same time. So I feel like college sports is just becoming more and more professional as we go on, especially with like NIL and stuff like that too. So why not just go all out, right? Let's get the whole crowd experience exactly, the same tier. And the thing is with college fans, they're usually a little bit more passionate. So you could have a hell of an environment in just a rinky-dink stadium versus at a professional football stadium. So I think this is a cool thing that you're doing, and I think it's it might be an opening for other colleges to do the same.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It's been a labor of love for sure, and I think something that I'm really proud of is when Jordan asked me to be in this role at the University of Arkansas, there was no one like what I'm doing in college gymnastics. And I was just with actually one of the coaches from the University of Florida gymnastics team, which we beat on Friday. But he was out in Seattle recruiting just yesterday. And, I rubbed it in a little bit with him, made sure he knew that we took the W, and he was like, yeah, it was a good one. But the thing that we're really proud of is that people are recognizing that our competitive environment is stepping up the game and really elevating what could possibly be done across our sport. Right now, people always talk about in the sport of gymnastics, you take advantage of an Olympic year, because from a fan perspective, people watch Simone Biles do the craziest things you've ever seen in your entire life, and they jump on board with Team USA in that way. And it's incredible and amazing, and we take advantage of that in a lot of ways. But knowing that there is a place for people in Northwest Arkansas or all over the country where there are incredible gymnastics teams happening, and there are typically 5 home meets where you can bring your family and friends and go and experience an environment of the awe, the inspiration coming from these student athletes that are doing things that the 4 of us could never dream of doing. There's something about having that hour and a half of your day just to be completely in awe of it. So it's not lost on me that I am getting to pioneer a path in the sport of gymnastics in this way. But I do believe in pushing the envelope across the whole sport. I got the opportunity last year. I was the in-arena MC and host for the NCAA championship. So I did the 2 semifinal rounds and the finals on ABC. That was incredible. I actually am also get hired to do the Big Ten championship of gymnastics. And this year they're talking about having me do a regional championship, first round of the national championship. Other podium meets are hiring me to do stuff. So it's being noticed. And I never let people stop listening to me talk about how it all started, of the permission I was given at the University of Arkansas to create this electric environment. And I always get people say, well, why Arkansas? Why Arkansas? I'm like, well, I'll be honest, my best friend being the head coach is really helpful on that note. But the reason that I've been having such a blast at the University of Arkansas is I can't think of another college in the entire country that has an entire state rallying around all of the sports happening at one university. There's not really professional sports teams in the state of Arkansas to conflict with the attention coming for Arkansas athletics. So when every single lawn sign across the entire state, whether they're in the northwest corner or not, is all for the Razorbacks, come on. My job is so much easier that way. That's not lost on me at all. But it makes it harder for a school like I don't know, even the University of Washington here in Seattle. You're conflicting times with 7 professional sport teams, all within a 5-mile radius of one another. And in Fayetteville, all that we're in conflict with is sometimes there's a softball game happening at the same time as a gymnastics meet, and we're giving live softball scores inside of the gymnastics meet, and the softball is doing the same with gymnastics, right? And we can have that collaboration. So I'm grateful for the platform. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've been given at the University of Arkansas for me to be able to create. And I try to carry with me Razorback Nation in so many different ways, anywhere that I get the opportunity to go around the country in this very unique and crazy role that I have as the hype man. So it is something I'm incredibly grateful for.
Yeah, Cory, like you mentioned, you're in Seattle, you got all the sports teams, you got the Mariners, you got the Seahawks, you know, all around there. University of Washington, even Oregon's not that far away.
Right.
So like, you know, for Arkansas, we revolve around our sports teams where you go from football to basketball. You got gymnastics season right now. Softball and baseball is about to ramp up. And I'm a big baseball guy. You know, are you going to make it out to Baum Walker at all this year?
Okay. You know what? I've never made it to a baseball game, and I've always wanted to, but they're always sold out and I can't get a ticket. So for the best reason ever, I'm not able to get to a baseball game, but I would like to get to a baseball game. So maybe I just need to throw my Hype Man jersey on and lie to someone and tell them
I'm sure they'll let you in.
Hey,
Yeah.
we can help out, get you a ticket, find you a way to get you there. The weekend you're in, if that, you know, maybe coincides or you make a trip in. But a few more questions here before we wrap up. So Transplant Texas says, what was the difference between Hype for gymnastics and Hype for basketball? I mean, two completely different sports. You know, what was the difference, you know, between them for you and doing one and the other and getting to see them on back-to-back nights?
I'm going to give you my nerdy answer. This is me putting my nerdy marketing hat on. Okay. So in the sport of gymnastics, you create energy that matches what the home team needs on the event they're on. On vault, we need powerful, quick energy that sustains a lot of noise, and then it needs to come down when the away team is on bars, simply because a quiet arena is a cringy arena and we want them to overthink a little bit, right? So high energy for vault, I'm pointing down the vault runway and making that whole thing happen. Then we go over to bars. On bars, I'm just kind of like letting the pulse happen. I'm trying to like just keep the energy, keep people knowing that like if they follow me, they're going to be an educated fan that knows when to cheer and when not to cheer and things of that sort. Over on balance beam, so right now things are kind of like level out in this way. Then once we go to balance beam, the energy kind of goes like this depending on who's on the balance beam. Right? Jocelyn Robertson, for example, came over to me 2 meets ago and she was like, I can't have this slow music. Like I need something happening in here. I need some sort of energy. So we react to that. We pull the energy up a little bit. I get the crowd going a little bit more versus an athlete like Priscilla Park, for example. You know, I get the energy going once her dismount happens, but she's a more focused, deliberate athlete that when she's on the balance beam, we need to like pull the energy back. And then we have this, we go here, and then all of a sudden, everything needs to ramp up and go crazy for that fourth rotation, right? So at the end of it all, we have this exponential curve that ends real high. Well, as I'm sitting in this meeting, learning about what I need to do for basketball, I basically am realizing that it's completely the opposite in basketball, right? We have to start out super high. We got to go hot. We got to get the introductions. We got to do the lights and the smoke. We got to do the mascots and the flags. We're going to do hog calls. We're going to do all sorts of stuff at the top of the show. We load up all of our sponsored content right there at the top of the show, try to get things high. We had parachutes flying from the ceiling. We had t-shirts being tossed. I did the big crowd wave with the light sticks. We turned the lights off and created that energy. Everything is starting real high. And then what happens is that you have to be emotionally aware of what the score is doing, where fouls are coming in, how fans are reacting, and have that be over here, while simultaneously you have to have this energy of if the team is coming down, how do you give a genuine and authentic energy into the team to make sure that they know that you're still there and you're still with them and Razorback Nation is behind them, even if they're 10, 15 points back, right? I would say that was the foreign space for me, because in gymnastics, even if there's like a little dip, my job is to finish strong, right? And when there's like the points that when the point spread goes bigger, it's just not natural for me to like come and bring the energy real low and match what the scoreboard says. And instead, it's interjecting and kind of bringing the energy back up. But I had to do that real softly, right? So in the Alabama game, we felt that, right? We felt it start out real high. It started coming down real low. And then about, I don't know, if I remember correctly, it was kind of like the under 6 media timeout. there was this moment where the marketing staff was looking at me being like, do you want to ad lib some hype right now? And I was like, listening to what the DJ was playing, like watching what Spirit Squad was doing. And I was like, I think I want to vibe this out and see what's happening. But I left the mic off and I started to bring like local noise and local energy to people around me on the sideline. And then I'm so glad that I did that, because it allowed me to make that shift the moment that gameplay started shifting, and then everything started ramping back up again, right? So how is it different? It's incredibly different. I'm pretty much scripted in a gymnastics meet. And in basketball, I have to follow the ebbs and flows of the game, but I also have to be incredibly aware of how we can interject authentic energy while simultaneously making sure that the players know that we're not gone, that they know we are still with them, and that we still have their back, and that we're going to be here with them till the very last buzzer is there. So that's my long-winded answer on how different those two are.
Yeah, that's interesting on the, the ways like you're talking about how like being kind of complete opposite there and kind of having to feel out the crowd more. That is interesting to think about, as, I kind of did the same as you. Like I went to the gymnastics meet and I was at the basketball game to see the difference and actually think about it like you were explaining it. It's something interesting to think about for sure.
Yeah. It's a fun time. And I think I keep using the term grateful and gratitude in all of this, but, I wouldn't have been able to, nerd out like I just did about basketball energy and basketball marketing had I not experienced it myself and gotten the opportunity to experience it myself. I'll admit there were many times that I felt like I was like split in so many directions, because I was like, okay, what was the foul that was called? Okay, the marketing guys in this year being like, the next bit we're going to do is we're going to toss cows attached to parachutes, like coming from the ceiling. Okay, do you have what you need? Do you have the read? Do you have all this stuff? And I also need to like understand where the points are, so that as I take the court, I can execute all of those things with energy and emotion that matches what everyone in the arena is feeling from a gameplay standpoint, while simultaneously making the sponsors happy, right? So there's a lot in juggle that we juggle in those moments. But at the end of the day, energy is energy, and team loyalty is team loyalty. And I can shout out for the Razorbacks and make all those hog calls happen that, your fans on here were talking about earlier, and keep the traditions alive. So we'll push the envelope as much as we can. And I'd love to do another basketball game if they'll have me. So. Yeah, and a football game at that point.
Yeah, let's get you to football and baseball both. Let's just get you at all the events, softball included. We'll just do them all. But kind of wrapping up here, a two-part question. So once you mentioned doing some championships and the all those, but kind of once gymnastics wraps up, what does off season look like for Cory? And then also, I'm sure you're planning on being back again next year for Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I'll be back at Arkansas as long as they'll have me. That's kind of my thing. Many people don't know, but I actually do have an exclusive contract with the University of Arkansas. So my face and voice can only represent Arkansas Gymnastics as a gymnastics program on campus. I can go and do these other entities and these other competitions that are owned by non-collegiate entities like the Big Ten championship or NCAA championship, things of that sort. But I do have an exclusive contract with the University of Arkansas. So I'd love to be back. What was your other question?
What does off season look like for you when you're done with all the gymnastics stuff?
Yeah. Off season for Cory, I do have a full-time job. Some people don't realize that, but I don't just get to bounce around on Friday nights 5 times a year and make all the money I need in a year. I do have a full-time job. I'm a marketing and communications director for a club gym up here in Seattle that's training some high caliber athletes, as well as, helping 1-year-olds have their mommy and me classes in gymnastics. So I'll continue to work for Pacific Range Gymnastics here in Seattle. In addition, I get asked to do little speaking engagements and camps and clinics all over the summer. So I'll do that. And There's some other stuff that's in the works right now where my hype man role might be blossoming into some other large arena spaces, which I'm super excited about. Can't chat about just yet, but let's just say the platform that the University of Arkansas has given me to create this role and what this has become is opening up some really cool doors that I'm super grateful for. And I'm grateful for head coach Jordan Weber. I'm grateful for, Elvis in the marketing department, Kat, Hunter. I mean, Hunter has been a fan of mine for such a long time. And he's always super grateful and extends a handshake. Him and his wife always extend a big hug and a handshake to me after the meets, and are grateful for, what I bring to the floor in those ways. But I'm equally grateful for the collaboration that I get to have with the incredible staff at the University of Arkansas to create some really cool and special moments. And yeah, I mean, I know that what's happening in the gymnastics arena is being talked about in other sports on campus. And so I hope that some of the little nuances that we have implemented in Bud Walton Arena through the gymnastics program over the last 6 years hasn't been easy, but those moments and those little changes have really made a huge difference. And I hope that other sports start to adopt some of those to be able to sustain energy, to create fan engagement, and to just build up these crowds, because the student athletes on campus absolutely deserve it. I think about these student athletes having these memories for a lifetime of having, 12,000 people in Bud Walton Arena screaming for them right before they go for their last pass on floor. Like, you'll never get to experience that again in your life. And if I can do that for as many teams as I can, I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. It was great to have you come on and give that insight. Like Allison says here, from all you've talked about, it said, it really does sound like you're not just a hype man for our athletes here at Arkansas, but also that emotional sport person too, which is really cool because, like you said, you have to connect with these athletes on a, really deep level to, like you said, understand what they need at certain times and things like that. So it was really cool to, get your insight on that. We appreciate you taking the time to jump on here with us, talk about your hype man experience, kind of a little bit about your background. We've got a couple more home meets this season. So for all you Arkansas fans out there, if you haven't been to one, shame on you. But also, if you haven't, get out there and come, watch these ladies do their thing. They're fantastic, but also, come see the hype that, Cory brings to, help support these ladies too. It's fantastic. And again, we just thank you for, taking time to jump on with us for a few minutes.
It's my pleasure. I'll give one little note on this next home meet that's happening at the end of the month. It's against Alabama. It's a big one. Like, I know that we've been up against number 2 or maybe 3 ranked teams like in the last 2 meets, but this one's going to be a really close ranking matchup with Alabama, and it will be a very, very close meet. So make sure you go ahead to that one. And our last home meet in the middle of March will be against Missouri for senior night, and it'll be for sure very special. So I would love to see everyone out there, and thanks again for having me on, you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Go follow Cory on Twitter and his social medias. Where can people find you at, across all the social medias?
Yeah, you can find me at Cory M. Tomlinson on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever they call those things all these days. But yeah, I'm throwing down some tweets with some double red exclamation points here and there just to bring the hype and energy wherever I go.
Awesome. So that's been Cory Tomlinson, aka Hype Man Cory, joining us tonight. We thank you for tuning in and jumping on with us. And we'll see you at the next gym meet.
Sounds good. See you guys.
See ya. So
yeah, that was really cool. I'm not gonna lie, that job sounds a lot harder than like whenever you first think about it. The amount of stuff that goes in it and the amount of coordination and then him having to go from one place to another, that kind of sounds like it would wear you out. I'm not gonna lie.
Definitely.
Yeah, lots of travel, lots of jet lag.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So as we kind of transition from talking about this gymnastics meet, I'm sure the entire state of Arkansas probably feels like you do, Hobbs. Tomorrow's opening day for baseball season. These baseball Hogs are going to be in action. We get a doubleheader tomorrow due to some weather constraints, but Hobbs, how excited are you that baseball gets back tomorrow? And like you said before the show started, we're actually playing somebody other than ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I started the countdown on Twitter 55 days ago, so I feel like it's been forever since. But we're finally here, and like you said, 2 games tomorrow, so we get 18 innings of baseball. So very excited. Playing Washington State, so like you mentioned, the weather on Sunday is going to be miserable. It's not even going to get above freezing, so they've moved the Sunday game to tomorrow. So I'm just excited that we get 2 games on. Everybody else is playing 1 game. We're going to get 2. So it's huge. Weather is still not that great right now, but at least we're playing somebody else other than ourselves.
Yeah, and just a little bit of news too. I don't know if you guys seen it, but a few hours ago, they said that Saturday is going to be moved from 2 to 1 as well, due to inclement weather or forecast. So
some potential
so not only are we getting 2 tomorrow, but we're getting baseball earlier on Saturday.
Yeah, that's normally this time of year, unfortunately. And I was talking to you about this, Caleb, during the show, during the pregame of the show. At least we get to play indoors next weekend, so we won't have to worry about this.
Yeah, that's very true.
Just we won't get to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to find some ways to watch it. Yeah, that's the only tough part, the flow of sports. But as we're going into this weekend,
I'm never not going to bring that up.
Fair enough. It's one of those painful things that we have to deal with going down to Arlington. But going into this weekend, we've hit on the pitchers. We've talked about the infield. We talked about the outfield. Well, now we know the starting rotation for this weekend. So for games 1 and 2. Geckel, Root, that's kind of like we've talked about. It's been locked in. Those 2 guys are going to be your Friday, Saturday guy, or in this case, Friday guy, and doubleheader. And then you got Gage Wood starting the 3rd game and Bottle Cheese starting your 4th game. What do you think about this starting lineup? I know we talked about, those last 2 could be interchangeable depending on matchups, but, what are you expecting of these guys as we kind of, like we said, opening it up against a different team that's not your own in a scrimmage?
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about, the whole team for weeks now, and we finally get a chance to see them against somebody else. But yeah, those 4 guys in the starting rotation, I'd already said previously it was going to be them for opening weekend because we played a 4-game series. So that little battle for that last spot, it really wasn't going to come into fruition just yet. And it may be a rotation all year long. We don't know yet. It's not a bad problem to have. Dave Van Horn is going this route opening weekend to have righty lefty. That's what he said, and you can see that he's going to do the batting lineup pretty similar tomorrow as well. So yeah, it's no surprise to me that's what the rotation looks like. As far as who's going to win the battle, it's tough to tell. With Gage pitching on the 3rd game, you may see him pitch next weekend as well, and Bottle Cheese come out of the pen just because he gets extra days rest. But you never know. Like I said, it's a good problem to have. I don't know what he's going to do, because if he goes Wood, it's going to be right, left, right. If he goes Bottle Cheese, it's going to be right, left, left. So it may depend on who we're playing. It may depend on a lot of different factors, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And that's going to be interesting to see throughout the season, like you said, how we use those guys. And it's going to be a lot of matchup based. But I'm excited. You're probably going to see a lot of different guys rotating through in these games as far as maybe some of the infield positions, some of the outfield positions. You're going to have different guys DHing at some points during this weekend. Kind of get to see a little bit of everybody. And And so looking at that, I know we've mentioned a couple over the past few weeks. Is there one particular guy that you're specifically excited to see or watch what they're going to do this opening weekend?
Well, there's not just one, there's several. Anybody that's brand new, I've seen Gackle in the Hog uniform do his thing. I'm excited to see him get a start. Last year as a closer. So I'm excited to see him be the ace this year and carry that weight for what Hagan did last year. Is he going to do what Hagan did? Not many people have done that before, so I can't really say he'll do that, but he's going to be good. That's just who Gackle is. But I'm really excited for guys like Zach Root, seeing them pitch for us. Vital Cheese, guy like Aiden Jimenez coming out of the pen. Our freshman pitchers like Carson Wiggins and Cole Gibbler. I'm excited to see those guys and what they can do on the mound. But I'm really excited to see this new look offense. I don't think a lot of people really understand how good this lineup is this year, but they're going to find out real quick tomorrow. Guys like Iredale may be one of the best hitters we've had since Kerstead. He's that good. He gets on base, and he can hit the ball out of the ballpark in a hot minute. So can guys like Rocco Pepe. He really just took that first base position over and didn't even make it a competition. That's how well he's done lately. And then I'm excited to see a healthy Diggs. A lot of people wrote this guy off. And just for him to be back out there getting a chance to improve his draft stock, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't realize these guys are trying to keep on playing baseball after this. So to see him have a healthy year and improve his draft stock and possibly get drafted to play professional baseball, it would be great, because he's a great kid and he deserves it.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. I listened to the, Dave Presser, a couple of days ago, and he was talking about Diggs. They asked him about Diggs, and, he was talking about how coming into the season, his shoulder's fully good, as he's easing back in, he was kind of watching some of those metrics and, the technology we have here at Arkansas, in our training facility and things like that. And so he was talking about how, as the weeks went on, the scrimmages went on, he started noticing that bat speed, that velo go up. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, he tweaked his hammy, but he said he should be good to go. And I think that's what a lot of people said, that you're going to get to see the Diggs that you did the first half of last season and, how he finished the season before on, just a great hitter. And like you said, a lot of people wrote this guy off, and I'm excited for him to get another year to come back. And show what he can do. It's like Dave said, if he probably wouldn't have sustained that injury last year, he's probably reporting to training camp this year. And and Dave said
hitting, I think Dave said he was hitting 360 before he got hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, he crushed the ball last year.
Yeah, and so to kind of see his battling back through, what was playing through that torn labrum that latter half of the season, and to be fully healthy going into the season, it's going to be excited to see what he does, and hopefully he can, stay healthy.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's kind of like a fan favorite, right? I would say so. He's got his own little nickname, and it makes me feel uncomfortable every time I hear it.
Oh God!
But,
yeah, I know.
But I mean, I want to see him do well too. He's been a loyal guy. He's been here since he was a freshman. And baseball is kind of one of those places that, although there are still a lot of transfers, I feel like loyalty is a little bit more of a thing than it is with like basketball or football. And to see that in this day and age in college athletics, I mean, I love it, especially with the, vitriol he was met with last year after he started being after his injury, and people didn't know that, and they were still trying, saying he sucks and all this stuff. So to see him still come back and still want to prove himself to Coach Van Horn and the fan base and, baseball in general, that's, you got to admire it. And to fight back against that injury and to come back and have a good season this year, it'll be really incredible if you can do it.
Yeah, Agreed. Transplant Texan here says, how or why is Flow Sports the source for viewing next week? So I think the reasoning behind that is something to do with Arlington and, MG, all the people that collaborate to put on this tournament down in Arlington have some type of exclusive deal with Flow Sports that they're the exclusive viewership location for this event. Not sure why they're doing it that way instead of like on ESPN or something, because everybody's going to be tuning into this either way.
Yeah, it was that stadium hasn't been open long, so it's only been, I think, 5 years since the stadium has been there. And when they opened the stadium, they got a great idea. Hey, let's have these college baseball tournaments in the stadium, because Major League Baseball doesn't start until April, and college baseball starts in February, and the weather's always not that great in February. So a lot of these SEC teams, Big 12 teams, ACC teams, they're like, hey, or in Big 10 teams, even like Michigan, hey, this is a great idea. Let's all go play each other down in the stadium. And Flow Sports was the one that got the contract. And this is the last year they're under the contract. So I don't know if somebody else is going to pick it up, if they'll renew it, how it's going to go from there. Unfortunately, college baseball has not ever been given a huge audience until postseason play, as far as networking and television. But we get television because we play in the SEC and we have the SEC network. So we can have games that when we play at home, be able to stream them and stuff. But a lot of the other conferences don't have that luxury. So anytime we play on the road, if we're not playing an SEC team, which we don't really go on the road non-conference anyway, other than to play play in this tournament, this is what we had to deal with as far as television coverage.
Yeah.
Because, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I remember, because I've been watching baseball ever since I was old enough to know it and understand it. I remember years ago, we had to go down and play Arizona State at Arizona State, and you couldn't watch the game at all. You had to listen to it on the radio. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just feel like ESPN or whoever, that is on, national television is just missing out on, a fantastic opportunity to just continue to increase their viewership on things, because, college baseball, like, everybody just loves college baseball. It's fantastic. And the postseason is big and more implications, but you think if ESPN started putting, more games on it, I don't know if it's just because it maybe conflicts with, the NBA or, whatever else is on at the time. I don't know. I just feel like they're missing out on a big opportunity to increase the viewership and, from their perspective, get more money from people watching it.
Yeah.
I think it's a marketing thing too. Like, if you go out and you market this tournament as some, like last year, Arkansas and Oregon were two of the top teams in the country, and then no one got to watch it. If you go out and you market it that way, and maybe the next entity that makes the deal with the Texans, it's in, where is it? Is it Rangers or
Arlington? Yeah, Texas Rangers.
Okay, so Rangers, they go in the next person who makes that deal with the Rangers. I feel like they could be like a little bit more pull on who gets invited to it, and say, hey, let's do like the top 4 teams, and then have like a Maui Invitational type thing, where you have these elite teams going at it, in like a round robin type deal, and actually promote it instead of saying, oh, hey, there's this tournament down there in Texas, and no one really actually knows what the name of it is. But yeah, there's a lot of good teams that are playing, but you can't watch it unless you pay $30 to this no-name sports channel. So, it's a marketing problem. I feel like it is.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams playing this weekend down there. I know Ole Miss is one of them. I can't remember who the other ones are, but yeah, they've got a lot of
And it's like each weekend has a different name. Like the weekend Arkansas is down there, it's the AMG Bank College Baseball Series, but I think like the previous week it's the Shriners Children College Showdown. So like the 2 different weekends, or I think it's 3. Yeah, 3 different weekends they're doing it. One is like the Shriners Children College Showdown, which is the one I believe you're referencing, Hobbs, where it's Ole Miss is down there. You have, I believe,
Louisville, Texas, Arizona, Arizona Ole Miss, and the other 2, Clemson, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and then the following 2 weekends are the AMG Bank College Baseball Series powered by Kubota. So it's interesting how they do that. But like you said, if the contract's up, hopefully, they can show these numbers to, how many people tune in to like whoever it may be, and it get picked up more broadly where it's on some maybe channel that's included in like, whatever you do for TV, whether it be like Hulu Live or YouTube TV or Sling. That's one thing that we didn't address earlier when we were talking for basketball. I myself have YouTube TV, and an email came out the other day or a couple days ago where they are now currently in, disputes with Paramount. To me, I could care less about Paramount, but the one thing that affects is if you think about Paramount, CBS. If they don't get a deal figured out soon, they might be losing a big chunk of their subscribers that have YouTube TV, because we all know what's coming up next month, March Madness. And where does March Madness live for the most part? One of the big 4 channels, CBS,
True TV, TBS.
Yeah, CBS, TNT, True TV, and TNT. Yeah. And even the selection show is on CBS as well. So if they don't get this deal figured out, not a good business move on their part personally, because the amount of viewership and the amount of people that watch March Madness is insane. Yeah, you'll still have those other 3 channels, but I mean, you don't want to just be able to, like, what if your team is on CBS? You're going to want to be able to watch your team's game or, whatever. So that's just something to keep an eye out on.
And like CBS knows what it's doing too. Let's be honest. It's not like they just wait, happen to wait until a few weeks before March Madness. They did this on purpose to leverage YouTube TV to pay more money. And that kind of feels crummy too. Like, of course, I want YouTube TV to try and make a deal with them, but Paramount, come on, man! Like, you're using your viewers as leverage over that. That's kind of crappy. So, the whole media industry, that it just sucks, because back in the day you had 3 channels. And you had the antennas, and you got whatever you got. And now it's like you get it, and then they just take it away from you, and you're like, So
yeah. Transplant Texan says viewers in big towns near big cities can still access CBS via antenna, like you were just mentioning, Austin. Examples: Conway, Mamel, Benton, Bryant, etc. So if you want to go buy an antenna and still watch the games, you can do that. I will say, I've thought about the possibility. I looked it up. If they won't get a deal done with YouTube TV, one can just hop themselves over to Sling for the same thing for a potentially cheaper price if you just want the sports piece of it. So that's
or you can find someone who has a Paramount subscription and just bum it off of them too. So
that is true as well.
I'm not condoning that, but
subscription only because one of my favorite shows is on there right now.
What
Dexter.
show is it?
So Dexter.
Oh,
so And that's why I have it. But other than that, that's the only reason I keep it.
Yeah, fair enough. But as we kind of round back to it, opening baseball this weekend is here. We're going to get ready to wrap up here, but just for everybody, in case you haven't seen it, so doubleheader tomorrow. First game's at noon. Second game will start 30 to 45 minutes after the conclusion of that first game. Game on Saturday has been moved from 2 o'clock to 1 p.m., so an hour up, to avoid some potential rain issues and weather. No game on Sunday due to it being absolutely freezing here in Arkansas. And then, they'll wrap up the 4-game series with the 4th game on Monday. And then next weekend, games in Arlington. Times for those: the Friday game will be playing Kansas State at 7 o'clock. Then Saturday we'll be taking on TCU at 6 p.m. And then on Sunday you'll wrap up with Michigan at 11 a.m. So
those start times could happen later because we are the last game.
So depending on how late the game before us runs.
How the game before, but the Michigan game, I believe, is the first game. So we'll start on time on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Arkansas will be back home that following Tuesday to take on Grambling in their, big, long homestand before conference play. So Transfer at Texas said, if you just get your Walmart Plus membership, it comes with free Paramount subscription. So there you go. He said, get free grocery delivery and guaranteed March Madness with Walmart Plus. There you go. Walmart find a way to market that if something happens there. Man. But, fantastic show tonight, guys. We, talking Arkansas's big win as, hopefully Big Z can keep this late season surge going for Arkansas. Texas A&M Saturday at 11 a.m. So tune in to watch some of that before you head to the ballpark, or just watch it at the ballpark as well. And then, fantastic having Cory jump on with us, talking about all of his hype man duties and what it takes and how he got here to Arkansas. And then wrapping up talking about opening baseball weekend this weekend. I'm excited. I took a half day off work tomorrow, and I'm going to be at those games all weekend. It is going to be cold, but I will make sure to have plenty of layers, especially tomorrow. And so it's going to be a fun one.
I'm off all weekend, so I'll be tuning into every pitch. I post live updates on my Twitter if you don't already follow me. So you can see it there because I'll be locked in for every pitch.
Exactly. And with no game Sunday, that's perfect for us to come in and recap the first 3 games of the series before finishing up on Monday. So as we wrap up here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts at. We've got some more live show events in the works. I'll let you guys know we're getting close to getting ready to announce some of those exciting things there, but make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. That helps us a lot. And everybody get ready to have a great opening weekend. Enjoy your Fridays, and we'll see you guys on Sunday as we come back here for our Razor recap. Can't wait. It's going to be a good time, and let's get ready to watch some Arkansas baseball and hear that train horn for some home runs. So
all aboard, bases loaded, get your beer hats out.
Exactly. Got to bring those out of storage for this weekend since baseball season's here. But everybody have a great Friday. Enjoy opening weekend, and we'll see you guys on Sunday.